True topic number 9 is, are blacks genetically superior? This came with a link. Let's check it out, and then we'll discuss.
What's up, guys? It's B4 Flex, and I'm going to explain black genetics. Quick disclaimer. This video is not intended to offend anybody. I don't want to discriminate. I only want to educate. If you played sports before, it's likely you've heard of the term black genetics. Black people are seen to be genetically gifted or to have a genetic advantage in powerful sports. I mean, they do seem to dominate a lot of powerful sports like sprinting, basketball, American football, and to some extent, bodybuilding. So, is it true? Do black people have a genetic advantage? Well, in short, yes. For example, if you look at sprinting, the first person to break the 10-second barrier was in 1968, and that was Jim Hines, a black guy. Until 2003, only black people had broken the 10-second barrier. And in 2003, it was the first person that wasn't of African descent that broke the 10-second barrier, and that was Patrick Johnson, an Aboriginal from Australia. Now, whether you view Aboriginals as black or not, that's up to you. Anyway, after 2003 until 2010, only black people were breaking the 10-second barrier. When it comes to basketball, over 70% of the NBA is black. Now, of course, yes, there's a height aspect, but let's be honest. On average, black people are not the tallest people in the world. So, of course, it's more about that athletic ability, the explosive ability. Let's look at American football, which is an extremely explosive sport. Over 70% of the NFL is black. When it comes to bodybuilding, the top 2 bodybuilders in history with 8 Mr. Olympia titles are Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman, both black. Now the runners-up, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Phil Heath. Phil Heath, yet again, is another black guy. And his competitor for a long time was Kai Green, which is yet again another black guy. However, when it comes to bodybuilding, it is arguable. Now there's 4 main reasons and 1 factor as well. Now this factor is the genetic diversity in Africa. You see, sub-Saharan Africans are grouped as black people and part of the black race, even though Africa is the most genetically diverse continent in the world. There's only 1.2 billion people in Africa, but they're still more genetically diverse than the 6+ billion people in the rest of the world. So of course, you're likely to find a lot of the genetic extremes in Africa. For example, the tallest people in the world are the Dinka people in South Sudan, which is in Africa. The shortest people in the world are the Mbuti people in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is also in Africa. So it's no surprise then that the fastest and most muscular people are also going to be found in Africa. But understand this, just because they're all grouped as black doesn't mean they have the same DNA. For example, a man from South India does not have the same DNA as a man from Korea, but they're both Asian. It doesn't mean they have the same DNA. In the same way, black people don't all have the same DNA, even though we're all grouped as black people. That's why it's easy to see that black people dominate sports. But in true reality, there's a lot of different DNA groups that dominate different sports. Now, as for the 4 reasons, the first reason is natural selection. If you don't know what natural selection is, maybe you didn't pay attention in biology, but basically natural selection is when the environment decides what genes survive. For example, you get 2 rabbits. One rabbit is fast and the other rabbit is slow. Now, if both rabbits are being chased by a wolf or a fox, the fast rabbit is more likely to survive because it's faster. So over time, the fast rabbit is probably going to live longer and be able to pass on its genes, while the slow rabbit won't be able to. So as time goes on, there will be more faster rabbits than there are slow rabbits because the environment decides. It's just science. Now in Africa, malaria has killed off so many people, especially in West Africa. And in case you don't know what malaria is,
mosquitoes suck blood from humans and animals, mainly animals, but they also do suck blood from humans.
And what they do is they suck your blood, but in the process of doing so, they inject their bacteria, which is responsible for malaria. Now, this bacteria likes to infect the red blood cells and then multiply. Now, in West Africa, they have, on average, lower hemoglobin, and also they have the highest cases of sickle cell, that sickle cell trait. and sickle cell anemia. Now, low hemoglobin and sickle cell means you have a problem in your production of red blood cells, which normally is a health problem. But in the case of malaria, it's actually an advantage because there's not enough red blood cells for the malaria to spread throughout the body. So those without those traits likely died out, whereas those with those traits have lived on and passed on their genes. See, natural selection. Now, as a result of low hemoglobin and sickle cell trait causing the low production of red blood cells, Black people have less slow twitch muscle fibers. In case you don't know, slow twitch muscle fibers are oxidative. They use aerobic respiration, meaning that they use oxygen. Now, because there's a low percentage of slow twitch muscle fibers, there's a higher percentage of fast twitch muscle fibers, which don't require oxygen. Now, the second reason is the power gene. That's right. Our body literally has a gene that helps us to generate power and force. Now, this gene is called ACTN3, and the gene creates a protein called alpha-actinin 3. Now, this protein is what's actually responsible for the power and the force. However, ACTN3 has two versions, a good version and a bad version. The good version is the R allele, and the bad version is the X allele. Basically, if you get the R allele from your dad and another R allele from your mum, and you become the RR genotype, you'll be able to create a lot of power and force. If you get the R from your dad and the X from your mum, you'll still be able to produce a good amount of power. Not as good as the RR, but still a good amount of power. On the other hand, if you receive the X from your dad and the X from your mum, you will not be able to produce as much power because your gene is insufficient in creating actinin 3. Now, the XX genotype, people who are XX, not RX, but just XX, completely the insufficient version of the gene, make up around 25% of the Asian population. That means that a quarter of Asians have the XX version, right? Which is not the good version. Now, when it comes to white people, it is 18% of white people. That's almost a fifth have the bad version, the XX version. However, when it comes to Black people, less than 1% of Black people have the bad version, the XX version. That's 3% of Black Americans, 2% of Jamaicans, and in West Africa, the percentage of people with the bad version of the gene is around 1%. That means that around 99% of West Africans have the good version of the gene. And just to explain how important this gene is, with elite athletes with speed and power and strength, not a single one of those athletes don't have the good version of the gene. Now, reason number 3 is myostatin. Myostatin is a hormone that stops your muscles from getting too big. It's not an ally. In fact, it's an enemy of building muscle. Now, sub-Saharan Africans have a higher percentage of myostatin mutations. This means that they're not as limited when it comes to building muscle. Now, the fourth reason is androgen receptors. Without androgen receptors, your muscles won't grow, right? They're literally the limit of growing muscles. Now, Black people have a higher androgen receptor sensitivity. This is also why Black people are at higher risk of prostate cancer because of their androgen receptor sensitivity. So it's not so good when it comes to prostate cancer, but when it comes to muscle, it seems to be an advantage. That's it. I hope you learned something and I hope you were informed. Remember, these genetics are not exclusive to West Africans. However, there's a higher concentration of people who have these genetics that are West Africans and their descendants. But there are plenty of people that aren't West African or West African descendants or African descendants, full stop, that have been able to make amazing fitness feats. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the faces of bodybuilding, is a white guy. Same with Christophe Lemaitre, who was the first white man to break the 10-second barrier. Su Bingtian, a Chinese sprinter. Apologies if I pronounced the name wrong, but he was the first Asian-born sprinter to break the 10-second barrier. So, yes, there's a high concentration of West African descendants with these genetics, but there are, of course, other people who have these good genetics. Now, whether or not you have these genetics, whether or not you're a West African or whether or not you're an Asian with these genetics and so forth, it doesn't matter. With hard work, consistency, and patience, you can see amazing results, even if you have, quote, bad genetics. Just stick to a good workout program, make sure you have good nutrition, and prioritize sleep. So push yourself to become the best version of you. Only you can be the best version of you. Don't be the best version of the Black people, Asians, white people. No, be the best version of you. If you like this video,
All right, be the best version of you. Let's go to Azuli to start off for this one. Azuli, what say you to this?
We might be superior genetically, but mentally and emotionally, I don't know where we're going. So it's funny that the most people with the most genetics, they're the one that's being under the boots of the people who are less genetic. So I don't know. He said something about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger was taking whatever you call it, the
Performance
performance,
enhancement drug.
yeah, steroids and all of that. So I guess I don't know if what's the purpose of being super genetically if it's like Superman. You're Superman, but they could control you with the kryptonite. Like it's like what he's talking is like when you watch the superhero movies. No matter how huge they are, the humans could still defeat them.
Right.
So that what's the purpose of this all this supposedly genetic superiority? But you are being controlled by the man. Like so, I guess I could say. But he said he didn't mention soccer, and soccer, according to what they show us, it's a white man that's pretty talented and that has the most talent. Like if you go by, I'm not saying the most talent, but what they show is like Messi, Ronaldo, and all these people, Ronaldo and all the other white players who are. Why didn't he mention soccer? So what does that do for us? If you are genetically superior, but you're still getting dethroned by the guy who's by the people who are supposedly genetically inferior. So, but I guess he's just concentrating on physical appearance and physical prowess. So, I guess I mean I don't know if it's I don't know I can't tell. We are all losing. So, but go ahead.
Jay, what say you? Jay, you're muted if you're talking. All right, let's go to Brother Bakari. What say you to this?
The brother before said, "What's the purpose of this? Feel good. That's something we good. We good at coming up with some feel good stuff that really ain't gonna help us with nothing. Because in all honesty, man, when it comes to certain things, do y'all remember a guy? Do y'all remember a guy named Jimmy the Greek?
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all remember why he lost? You remember why he lost his job, right?
Gambling or something, right?
Nah,
No,
well, he lost his job for a statement that he made, which was true, somewhat. I ain't gonna say it's 100% true.
Oh, right.
When
Yeah.
what he said about the way black people, we were bred like animals. He said it on
Yes.
TV. We were
Yes.
bred like animals, and so we were bred to be bigger and stronger. Hate to
Mm-hmm.
say it like that, but that's what was done to us. You understand? So when it comes to certain things, because of that breeding, because of them treating us like we were their horse or their pit bull, you understand? These genetics get passed, these genes get passed down. But
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the brother that spoke before. It doesn't mean anything, in my opinion anyway. It doesn't mean anything. It's like I said, if it's something, if we looking to feel good about something, it means something. That's some feel good, because I hear people say that all the time. See, we so genetically superior. If a black man have a baby, if a black person have a baby with any other race, that baby is just automatically black. There's
Mm-hmm.
an African. If that baby, if you have a, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, far as that genetic thing, is something that we can scream and we can talk about, But at the end of the day, the only thing it do for a lot of black people, it's a lot of feel good rhetoric that we're stuck on because, like the brother said, we getting our behind kicked, and instead of preparing and instead of stopping people from kicking our behind, let's find something that we can feel good about. That's my take on it. I hear the mic.
All right. It's 1-2-4-2. Um, let's try to keep the answers a little bit briefer now. Jay, what say you to this?
Yeah, sorry, I had my phone upside down and I pressed the wrong button.
Mm.
Short. Yes, feel good. Yes, feel good. The breeding is partially true because in soccer Africans from the continent are dominating are starting to dominate the game. Look at the French national youth team.
Right.
But yeah, feel good. We're getting our ass kicked, and we're physically strong, and these all these females of other races want to have a taste of us black men, and all these men see our gorgeous sisters as chocolate, because often we look very good naturally, but we're getting our ass kicked and fucked.
In the chat, Click Clack says yes to the prompt. Click Clack says yes. Blacks are genetically superior. Let's get a lady's opinion here, a black woman's opinion. Let's go to observing immigrants. Observing immigrants, what do you say to this?
Hi. I didn't get to watch the entire video, but I tried to scan through it quickly. It looked like he was just focusing on genetic superiority in terms of athletics. After that, what? I mean, half the people aren't athletes. What does it have to do with the real world?
Right.
Our genetic superiority is great if we use it to benefit the race. But just walking is like walking around with shiny shoes. But if you're not walking anywhere useful, what's the point? Yeah. So our genetic superiority is only going to be beneficial if it benefits the race. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Let's go to the forecast. What say you, forecast?
Yeah. In that video, he was just talking about physical superiority, and yeah, I think we all agree that. But I would add that intellectual, like smarts. I would say like we would like be superior there too, because even their greatest, like Einstein, had to steal inventions from a black man. But I would say emotionally, probably not. But just real quick for the I forgot to say on the last topic, because I know a lot of people will disagree with me with the mental illness, and that's like why I'm not as hard on the coon. And I know Bakari understanding that, so he coming around. So I just had to say that.
All right. Let's go to Oni. Oni, what say you?
Yeah, so I mean, I would have said I appreciate the Dragon Ball Z references. I don't know what that's about, but okay. And I also was saying that touchdown. I don't know if y'all saw that touchdown. That was disrespectful. That was crazy.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yo, we can't hear you, bro.
Oh, you can't hear me?
It's very low, but I heard what you said,
How about now?
but it's low.
It's low. How about now? Better? No?
It sounds like you're about 6 feet away from the microphone.
Damn. All right. So I bought a new mic. I'll just replace it for tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this kind of makes you think about the eugenics. I didn't know. I think it was a nice video. It was about, like, I got that he was talking about power, how you generate power, physical power, and like what genes correlated with physical power. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't really know it on a biogenetic level. But yeah, I mean, and so yeah, I would say it kind of reminds you of the eugenics conversation, and Africa's biodiversity. But I think when we talk about men's, like, brains and so forth, just the reality that we might have the physical variation probably means we also have the intellectual variation, and we just have to like tap into that pretty much. But instead we just kind of make other people tap into our physical strength, and
Right.
that's garbage.
Right. Let's hear from Tanzania now.
Well, I'll bring it back to the healthy mind in a healthy body, the mens sana and corpore sana. We have managed the physical aspect of it, and some of us, but we haven't really given as much importance in the mental aspect of it. We walk around, some of us look very strong and healthy, and we look like we're managing life, but I think that the mental anguish is the more important one that we're not really facing. We may have physically strong individuals running around, but we can see that mentally a lot of them are not there. So, it's nice to feel we have accomplished something, but it's not really helping us as a community. And if that's our only achievements, I would rather be strong mentally than
Right.
physically.
Right. I
Yeah.
feel you on
So.
that. Thanks, San. Last word on this is Mr. Untouchable. What say you?
I think that this is a very tough room. This is extremely tough room. But I would say this. I think that in an appeal to my brothers and sisters, I would only remind them that I understand that our European guys have the corn right now, and they seem to be in control. But understand that we had this plan for millions of years. You know what I mean? We was in control of this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Hundreds of thousands of years. You know what I mean? We take a loss, no problem. They discovered gunpowder before we did. You know what I mean? So so they was able to take control of the corn before we was. But I think that great men could be great again. I really feel that way. And irrespective of the fact that we may be genetically superior, I think that we are mentally superior as well, to be honest with you. And we could debate about the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo is a good football player, but so is Ronaldinho, and so is Pele. They was the greatest football players of all time in my book. So I mean, we could debate about it all day. I just think that for the short period, the time where we able to breathe in the breath of fresh air, life air or whatever, it seemed that these people have control of the planet for now. But just understand that we've been in control of the planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Our great men could be great again. That's all I have to say about that.
Hold on, before you go, it's like we talk about this genetic superiority. Oh, black people. 'Cause I seen white people are in Africa just chilling, having a blast, enjoying all of our natural resources. The Asian men is there, chilling, sun burning them, but we supposedly are superior. Like I
They,
don't get
they,
this shit.
there used to be a time. There used to be a time in world history when white folks were slaves. That's a fact. You know what I mean? So I mean, I understand the
But
I understand the
slave
contradiction.
to who? Slave to who?
Slaves to us. Slaves
Never,
in
never,
Egypt.
never.
In,
Stop that.
in,
Stop
in
that. Stop that
what,
shit.
let me back it up with evidence. Let me back it up with evidence. In Egypt, they had white slaves in Egypt, bro. You know what I mean? So I mean, I understand the contradiction in terms, but all I simply saying is really is great men could be great again. You know what I mean? We could take a loss, but we can learn from it and come back stronger. That's all I'm saying, bro.
What I'm saying is this guy, let's stop all this superiority shit because who's happy about that? You're so superior, but I have you by the balls. You know who look worse?
Us.
Okay.
Let's go to,
Great men could be great again. That's what I say.
and that's the last word on that one. Let's go to the breeze topic number 10 tonight. This is the last topic. You guys make sure tune into Pro Black Perspective in the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all who tuned in tonight. Thank you guys and gals who are on the panel tonight.